problem for Biden has been the weakness that there's been apparent since the withdrawal from Afghanistan, which was so extraordinarily badly handled and made the whole of the Western military and the Western determination in foreign affairs look weak and look as if it could be stood up to by small groups, let alone powerful nation states.
Exactly. The Taliban defeated the U.S. and the NATO forces that were there using basically weapons that were designed more than 70 years ago. And there was not some high-end sophisticated military. They won by old-fashioned soldiering, and the West lost because it tied itself in knots. We allowed lawyers to become really what Zampolits were in the Soviet Union, political officers. It prevented effective soldiering, and the country was never pacified. And so you have that. You have a number of coups in Africa, the collapse of credibility of the West, of the French, of the U.S. forces there for counterterrorism, whether it's in Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, Sudan, just all these countries melting because no one's been able to put out the fires of the jihadis that are reigning supreme. And now the Houthis, the latest surrogate of Iran, causing real problems to global trade.
And this seems to me to be one of the really interesting things. You mentioned the surrogates of Iran. And how closely do you think Iran, Russia, and China are coordinating their activities?
Well, the Houthis certainly became a military power because they had, now they have access to long-range, cheap precision drones, cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, and now even sea mines. So I have no doubt that Iran holds the strings there. Does Russia coordinate with them? Probably so. China is Iran's customer for all their hydrocarbons, so they certainly have a say. All the Iranian misconduct is done with Chinese money that's paying for all their crude. So I wouldn't say they're the tightest of allies, but they're definitely allies of convenience.
And they're working together, aren't they? The action in Israel has certainly helped Russia in Ukraine because it's taken away attention from what's going on in Ukraine and has to some extent eased the pressure on Russia.
Yeah, certainly. And it's even a big distraction for the industrial base. You know, now you have the Houthis have been launching drones at ships going through the straits of the Bab el-Mandab, and they're shooting down a $20,000 to $50,000 drone with a $2 million missile. That's really bad math, even in the obesity and the overspending of Washington. So it's that industrial base is really overtaxed. All the West can't really keep up with the demand in artillery shells and precision rockets and that kind of stuff to even maintain a status quo in Ukraine. Now the Israelis have significant additional weapons needs, and who knows where the next one is beyond the Houthis. So, yes, it's death by 1,000 cuts. Certainly, the Chinese are sitting back and seeing their plan go according to plan. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do something. The weather window, if they're going to do something by force in Taiwan, it opens around May or June, because most of the months of the year it's too windy in the Straits. But if they're going to take it by force, I would predict they'll do something this spring.
And one of the things you mentioned was money, the money that goes from China to Iran. But the West has also sent money. That America sent, $6 billion to Iran to pay for the release of some hostages. The UK sent a few £100 million for the release of a couple of hostages. This is really bad policymaking because it's filling our enemies' pockets with gold.
Yes, and the oil trade for Iran is about $3 billion per month. So what the U.S. did, paying back for, I think, 5 or 6 hostages, paying $6 billion, is the equivalent of 2 months of their oil exports. So it's crazy. It's hard to understand how the U.S. thought that was a good idea, how the Biden White House, but they have a seeming track record, a level of comfort in constantly appeasing Iran instead of standing up to them, which is really the only thing they understand.